Namaste and good morning, Anusha ji. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
So we have the last week and is it the last 2 days of
Acha,
your
okay.
course,
Yeah, I
isn't it?
had missed last two classes. Actually, I had guests over, so I could not attend the classes.
Yes, yes. But we have that
Yeah,
recording also like with the
yeah.
school.
I will. Today I have got
Yes,
free, so
yes.
I'll see the recordings today. We
No
finished the
problem.
muscular system, and then what we did?
We did some of the asthma therapy on the spine and we did the circulatory cardiovascular system along with that.
Oh, okay. So today what we are doing?
Today we will be revising what we have been learning up till now in these 3 weeks.
Acha,
And I have told you in the
okay.
last week that we have to give a slight small presentation of the 10 minutes in these 2 days, but you were not present. So if you wish, we can do that as well for 10 minutes on a certain topic in these 2 days.
Presentation. Na? When do we have to give the presentation?
Now, right at now. So today and tomorrow, we have just 2 days left. Yes. So I
Acha,
said,
I'll give the
or
presentation tomorrow.
okay, so we have another student as well with you who will be giving it tomorrow, just for 5 to 10 minutes max.
Yeah, because I haven't prepared it today. Na?
No problem. So we will begin with it is just a revision actually, but not a presentation. It is just a revision what we have been learning, and from the student's point
Okay,
of view, who will be becoming a teacher, what they will be knowing. So, the slide
okay,
presentation. Yeah, let's
okay.
start a session with a Om and a small prayer.
Yeah.
I will chant a mantra and then we all will chant Om one time. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Take a long breath and chant Om one time. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much. So, on or from the day one, what we have been studying or we have introduced our anatomy and the physiology. So, what is the anatomy? The study of the structure or the parts of the human body systems, as well as what is the physiology, how those structure and the parts functions, or what are the functional properties, or how does it work. That is what the physiology of that complete part or the structure of the body. So from the system one, like for example, the digestive system, I think we studied first the digestive system. And from the digestive system, first we will revise it quickly, the rest of the systems as well. This digestive system is what and how will be defined? To absorb the nutrients from the food here for to live the cells or to make these cells live. The cells need our nutrients and oxygen to survive. So for these cells, tissues and organs, there are some nutrients to be absorbed from the food we eat. That is what the process of the digestive system starting from our mouth and It begins right in the mouth where we have studied some mechanical digestion process. That means 50 to 60% of food will be digested only in our mouth. So we cut the food into smaller parts into to break down of the proteins, carbs, and all the nutrients of the food in the mouth. It travels down or it gets soft with the help of the salivary glands in our mouth. And these salivary glands also contain some enzymes, which also helps to break down of the food, which helps to soft or moisten the food. And then the tongue will swallow it down to our throat region. As the food will reach to the throat region, in the digestive system, we will have the pharynx or the two regions of the throat that will be our osopharynx at the end of the oral cavity, and below the osopharynx there will be laryngopharynx. If you have taken the notes, you may see in your book what we have been revising well.
Yes.
Now, along with that, Namaste Vadika ji. Now, as the food travels down, the epiglottis will decide to send the food into the food pipe, and from the food pipe it will enter into our stomach. Just to introduce Vodikaji, here we will be revising today all the systems, not one system what we have been learning up till now. We are just revising what we have been doing in last 3 weeks. So we will start with the digestive in short and see the rest of the systems as well. So as the food travels down from the esophagus, the food pipe, it will enter the stomach. And as it enters the stomach, there will be a sphincter or a ring at the end of the food pipe that will close our food pipe at the end. So it won't allow the food to travel back up. That means for the acid reflux issues. So when we eat more than the capacity of our stomach, or when we directly lay down after the meal, these problems may occur. That is the acid reflux. Then, apart from that, in the stomach, there will be an acid known as hydrochloric acid to kill the germs and the bacteria from the food or the present in the food. Those germs and bacteria would be killed or cleaned by the acid in the stomach. Below the stomach, to the left side, there will be the pancreatic gland, which will be responsible in the exocrine system, that means in the digestive system, to make digestive enzymes and to send it to the small intestine. The stomach will have hydrochloric acid, will also send it to the small intestine along with the enzymes from the mouth, from the salivary glands also present, which travels along with the food into the stomach. Then we have on the right side a liver. A liver is what? Which produces the bile, and bile is a yellowish fluid, that liquid which helps to break down fats or lipids. Lipids means the storage of fat energy in our body. So these lipids are being break down by the bile, and it is also sent through the bile duct into our small intestine for the chemical digestion. Now we will begin with the chemical digestion. And in the small intestine, what will happen? With the intestinal juices and along with the enzymes and the bile and the acid, here all the nutrients will be absorbed by our small intestine. Then, after absorbing the nutrients, almost all the nutrients, this food will be sent directly to our large intestine. And what will happen in the large intestine? The absorption of water. Along with the absorption of water, it will also absorb the remaining nutrients from the food, which are will not absorbed by the small intestine. So as the food passes through the large intestine, after absorbing the water content from the food, it will be the waste product in the form of feces or the solid waste material in the form of stool that will pass through the colon. So we have a colon in the large intestine which allows that waste material to travel down all the way, and it will be excreted out through the anus. So the process of excretion is being done the help to the anus here. So this was in short about the digestive system. Now, can you tell me at least few asanas on the core or our indigestion? So we have problems with the indigestion. What some basic asanas will be helpful?
Pavan Muktasan,
Pavan Muktasan and
Bhujangasan.
Bhujangasan, Cobra pose.
Yeah,
Okay, Cobra pose as well, but it is mostly used for the back
yeah,
and the
it's for
spine.
spine mostly. Yeah.
So only for our core, there
Halasan.
will Halasan can be helpful. Yes, it is for the Halasan also very helpful for the blood circulation in our body. So there will be many postures like Uttan Padasana or Paschimottanasana, or we have the leg raises pose Padottanasana, Pada Chakrasana, or cycling Pada Sanchalan Asana, Shava Udar Akarshan Asana. That means they twist when we lie down on the back while we twist our legs and the knees. So many postures like Utkatasana, the chair pose, we have the Dandasana, that is the plank pose, or Falakasana, you can also call it as a Falakasana, the plank pose. So many posture will be great and helpful for our indigestion. Then we have the next system what we studied, that is the respiratory system. And in the respiratory system, it the primary source to breathe is what the nose, and the secondary source is what the mouth. And in this respiratory system, we have to breathe, or our body needs oxygen, our cells in our body needs oxygen to survive. Like in our digestive system, the nutrients from the food it needed to survive. So these two systems keep our cells alive. That means keep us alive. If our cell will die, the body will die. Here we require the oxygen, and what we exhale is what more content of the carbon dioxide. Along with it, we have seen many composition of gases and also the rate of respiration. I think we have seen that means how much breath we take per minute depends upon the age of the human that we have to keep in control or keep in balance to live a healthy and a happy life. Then, or to keep our lifespan on an average. According to Ayurveda, it is 100 years, our average lifespan in the era or in this Kali Yuga. Depends upon each era. Now, here in the respiratory system, we need to breathe in all the postures in the yoga through the nose unless and until it is instructed or guided by the professional teacher. That means when in any posture, we do not have to keep our mouth open. We need to breathe in completely and we need to breathe out completely. We have to take the same amount of inhalation and we have to exhale the same amount. At least we have to exhale out the same amount what we inhale, or we could exhale out little bit more, but with the subconscious mind at the moment while I speak or while I talk or while I'm doing some activities. We or while we do some activities, we do not know how much we breathe in and how much we breathe out. So the helping or with the help of pranayama, we have to control the breath and expand the prana. That is what the definition of the pranayam in each and every cell, in each and every part of our body to control the breath and to expand the prana, the vital life energy. Here, only few postures I said, that means only when we tilt our head up, where in those postures assume a person is allowed to breathe with the mouth. Like only slightly they can keep the mouth open. So when they bring the head up, like in the camel pose, like in the fish pose, or when they will do the neck movements up, they can breathe also with the mouth slightly as a secondary source, as the emergency if they cannot breathe with the nose. But the breathing through nostril is only the important part as it cleans the nadis, the ida and the pingala, which is the part of philosophy. We will not take it here. After cleaning this energy channels, it will balance our left side energy and the right side energy. That is the sun and the moon energy will give the right to activate the kundalini and to raise the level of consciousness within our body. This respiratory system, the air passes with the nose, the mouth. It travels down to the three regions of the pharynx, the throat, not like the digestive system. Here we have the nasopharynx as well at the end of nasal cavity. Here we have oesopharynx at the end of oral cavity. And below oral cavity, we will have the laryngopharynx. And we also have the windpipe now. So before the windpipe, it will be the epiglottis who will send the food to the food pipe and the air with the oxygen to our lungs through the windpipe. So the windpipe is located right in front and the food pipe is located behind the windpipe. So this is your windpipe. The food pipe will be right behind the windpipe. As the windpipe, as we see the windpipe made up of the cartilage rings. In these first two cartilage rings of the windpipe, there will be our larynx or our voice box. And inside the windpipe, there will be small, tiny hair, which will continuously moving up and to remove the dust particles or contaminants from the air, which are passing through our nose and mouth here in the windpipe. So whenever we see if we suffer from any sickness or any illness or any viral infection, not only about this COVID or corona, but any kind of viral infection, that means first our throat gets affected. Why the throat gets affected first or infected? As there will be the cilia inside the windpipe, the tiny hairs, it will all remove the dust particles and contaminants from our windpipe and it will keep it and bring it in our throat, the pharynx region. So it gets our throat chakra. The first one is what? Very majorly to get affected. This is what we need to keep it in mind, that we need to cleanse with our 6 cleansing techniques, or we have some cleansing techniques to clean our internal body. So after the oxygen passes through our windpipe, the trachea, it will enter into the bronchi, that means the branches of trachea. One in the left and one in the right, which splits further into 2 into the left side of the lung and 3 more into the right side of the lung. Into these branches of trachea, and the air will pass, and to these branches, it will be going through the bronchioles, the tiny bronchioles which has the air sacs known as alveoli. And the alveoli are what? Which allows the gases or which allows this oxygen or carbon dioxide to change the state of the gas. That means the oxygen which is in the gaseous form when we breathe, that gets converted into the liquid form in the alveoli, and surrounding the lungs there will be the capillaries, and these blood vessels, these capillaries carry this liquid form of oxygen to each and every part of the cell. At the same time, through this capillaries, it also brings back our liquid form of carbon dioxide from the body. Again, it gives back to the alveoli, and alveoli convert into the gaseous form of carbon dioxide, and we have to breathe out the gas through our nose, that is the carbon dioxide. Not in the liquid form we breathe. We do not bring out the water from the nose and the mouth, but we breathe out the gaseous form of carbon dioxide, which was in the liquid form in our blood cells. This everything happens through the alveoli. This is a two-way process, the respiratory. With every breath, it happens, our body. In short, this was what? All about respiratory system. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Great. So there will be some posture to open up our chest and the lungs. So whatever the chest openers will be there, and many kinds of pranayamas are been there. There is not a specific number that only we have this many number of pranayama. So we have many pranayama, which is countless. There are the types of pranayamas, specific type, but not the exact number. So the pranayamas vary with the different variations, with the number of breaths, with the bandhas, with the different mudras. Also, we have different holding part, that is inhalation, exhalation, and retention. So it depends also upon the time ratio. So how much we breathe, how much we hold, how much we exhale. This all has different variations. So these types of pranayamas helpful for the respiratory system are countless, not a specific number, and we have each and every person or each and every body type the different time ratios. Even if we do practice the same type of pranayama, but not the same type of variation we can practice. Each and every body type will have different time ratio and different capacity of the lungs to carry oxygen holding. The next we will see and proceed. That is what we have studied. Then we have studied, I think, the skeletal system. And in that skeletal system, this is skeletal about the bones made up of the calcium phosphate, and the minerals contains 70% of the calcium phosphate ions in our bones. And this skeletal system is divided into two types, the axial skeletal and the appendicular skeletal, where the axial skeletal system consists of the bones which lies in our skull, in our head, in our face, in our throat, in our back, in our torso in front. So only in one axis, whatever the bones will be there, those will be axial skeletal. And apart from that, the bones you find in your arms and in your legs, or the bones which connect your arms and legs to the axial skeletal, will be the part of appendicular skeletal system. Here, so also apart from this, if I will tell all the bones in our skull, which are like the frontal, the temporal, the parietal two bones, or the occipital at the back, along with the eye bone, ethmoid, the plate, or the sphenoid bone, the protection from our pituitary gland. These all the bones in our skull, or the facial skeletal, the zygomatic in the cheek, are all fixed bones, or the unmovable bones, or the fibrous bone joints, which are not moving. So only the movable bone in our whole facial skeletal and our skull is what? Our mandible bone. Along with that, we have the next throat region, where you will find your floating bone in your whole body. That is hyoid bone. The only floating bone, that means which is not connected to any other bone. This floating bone is at above your thyroid cartilage or above your larynx in the respiratory system in the first two rings of the windpipe. Above that larynx, this is what your hyoid bone. Then
Can you once
we
again repeat the floating bone? I think I've not written it anywhere. I've missed it.
missed it. Okay. So the hyoid bone is what? Is the floating bone which is located above our windpipe trachea, right above our thyroid cartilage, we can also say, or the larynx. So our larynx is what? Our voice box inside the windpipe, but outside in the windpipe there will be thyroid gland covered with the cartilage, and above that it will be the hyoid bone, which will help to hold the muscles of the tongue behind and to keep our windpipe open. That is what? The floating bone. That means not connected to any other bone is what? Hyoid bone in short. Okay. Then we will have
Yes, thank you.
the spine. In the vertebrae, we will have the 26 vertebrae in total. The first 7 vertebrae cervical, the next 12 vertebrae is thoracic, the next 5 vertebrae the lumbar, the lower back. Along with that, we will have the sacrum, that is one single bone but fused with 5 bones. And we have coccyx, that is one single tailbone but fused with 4 bones. So this is what the 26 vertebrae with the cartilage disc and the pad will make it a semi-movable bone. Here, the cartilaginous bone joints. And in the front, we have the sternum and the ribs. So we have one sternum, that is our chest bone in the center, right over here, which connects our all the ribs. So these all the ribs, there are 24 ribs, so 12 ribs at each side. From these 24 ribs, there will be the first 7 ribs who are the true ribs. Then we have the next 6 ribs. So first 14 ribs will be true ribs, 7 on each side. Then the next 6 ribs will be the false ribs, which will be the 3 on each side. And the next 4 will be false floating ribs. Not completely floating, but false floating. That means connected at the back, but not connected in the front. So only floating in the front, but not at the back. They are connected at the back to all the thoracic vertebrae. All the 12 vertebrae of the thoracic region connects our 24 ribs in the front. Then we have the pectoral girdle, that is our scapula, the shoulder blade, and the clavicle, the collarbone, which connects our arm to the axial skeleton. This is important pectoral girdle, which connects our whole appendicular skeleton. And in our arms, there will be few bones. The number of bones in our arms will be approximately 60, and the number of bones in our legs as well, it will be 60. So the longest bone in the arm will be the humerus, and longest bone in our leg will be the femur in the thigh. So similarly, in our forearm, the bone near the thumb side will be the radius. The bone at the lateral side will be our ulna. And the wrist bones are known as the carpals. We have the 8 carpals in one arm. So in both 16, to the back of the palm, there will be metacarpals, 5. And in front in the fingers, we will have 3 phalanges in each finger, but only in the thumb, there will be 2 phalanges, 1 and 2. In the fingers, 1, 2, likewise. Similarly, in our neck, the bone in our lower leg will be the tibia, which is towards the big toe side, and at the lateral side will be the fibula. So the bones in the medial side of the body, in our lower leg, the strongest bone in our body, which will carry almost 60% of our body, weight of the body. The strongest bone in our whole body, this tibia and fibula connected to the ankle, and the bones in the ankle will be known as tarsals. These tarsals will have group into 7 bones. So in total, in the 2 ankles of our 2 legs will be 14. And the metatarsals will be known as the bones in our feet, and in the toes, the same phalanges as we have seen in the fingers. Apart from this, we have also seen these bone joints, and also we have seen and learned and some asanas for the kyphosis, the scoliosis, and the lordosis of the spine. This is asana therapy, where you have missed this, I think, Anushaji. You will see the recording later. Then, apart from that, we have also started with the muscular system. And in the muscular system, what we have seen, the group of muscles. In this group of muscles, there are 650 or more than 650 group of muscles in our whole body. These muscle cells, or there will be the 3 kinds of muscle cells, that is the smooth muscle, the cardiac muscle, and the skeletal muscle. So the smooth muscles, that means which are with only one nucleus and which are an involuntary type of muscle on the surface of our stomach, intestine, the large and the small, with the esophageal tract. That means they don't contract or expand with the help of our mind. We cannot control it. So that is what involuntary type of muscles. Along with that, we have the cardiac muscle, the heart. This is also an involuntary organ. That is what we cannot control it with our mind. And we have also seen the skeletal muscles, the major type of skeletal muscles in all our body, like the sternum muscles, helpful to move and our neck, the biceps brachii muscles in our upper arm, then the triceps brachii muscle, brachii means the arm, in the back of our upper arm. We have the forearm muscles, we have the flexors group and the extensors group as well. We have the brachialis and brachioradialis muscles in our arm. In the front here, the muscles, you will see the pectoralis muscles on the chest, then below the chest, on the surface of our abdomen, not on the stomach, not the internal, so external skeletal muscles. You will see here the abs, and those abs will be the rectus muscles, rectus abdomen muscles, and at the side you call it as the side abs. Those are the obliques. So along with that, we have our back. In the back, in the center, in the V shape, there will be the trapezius muscle, and at the side of our back, behind the obliques, there will be the latissimus dorsi muscle, the lats. Then we have also seen and studied the movements of all these muscles. So when these muscles get engaged and when these muscles get contract or expand or extend or relax. So when the one muscle gets contracted, the other gets relaxed as well, or the stretched. This we have also seen in our legs. The muscle on our hips will be the glute muscle. The muscles on the top surface in front of our thighs will be the quadriceps, made up of the 4 muscles. The muscles behind our thighs will be our hamstrings, made up of 3 muscles. And in our lower leg, in front, the muscles will be the soleus, the tibialis anterior with the tibial bone, and the muscles at the back of your lower leg, that is your calf, that is the gastrocnemius muscle with the 2 soleus muscles at the side of the gastrocnemius, at the lateral side and the medial side. So these many muscles we have seen with those actions as well when they get engaged. And what we need to remember here when we see in those actions, when the muscle gets starting point, that point is known as origin. But when the muscle ends at that certain point, that point is known as insertion. And when this muscle will move, when the point of insertion will move, the muscle will not move from this point of origin. The muscle will move when we will move it from the point of insertion that I told you to remember for every action of the muscle. Okay. And also in short, we have seen about the circulatory and the cardiovascular system. Very quickly, we are going here. In the cardiovascular and circulatory system, made up of our heart, our blood, and the blood vessels. So in our heart, there will be the chambers. So we have the four chambers in the heart, slightly tilted. The first upper chambers are known as the atriums, and the lower chambers of the heart known as ventricles, where the atriums are to receive the blood and the ventricles are to discharge the blood to the body. Atrium will receive from the top, ventricles will discharge. We have arteries, we have veins, and we have capillaries that are known as blood vessels. And what is the function of these arteries? Which carries our oxygenated blood from the heart to the body. So from the heart to the body, the oxygen-rich blood, that means the blood which gets purified with the help of the lungs, the oxygen-rich blood, and surrounding the lungs, there will be the capillaries, which will provide the oxygenated blood to transport to all the cells in our body. Similarly, the veins is what? To carry the deoxygenated blood from the body to the heart. So that means whatever the blood will be present in our body, all the veins takes that blood that is not with the oxygen. So when the oxygen is being used with the carbon dioxide blood or the impure blood, that will be taken by the veins and given to the heart or the lungs to get pure form. Then apart from that, we have seen some blood and the properties of the blood, which contains our plasma, our red blood cells, our white blood cells, and we do have also our platelets. So these things present in the blood. Along with that, we have also studied the circulatory system loop in short. So how this cardiovascular system works, the physiology of the cardiovascular, how it functions properly, that also we have all done and completed almost most of the systems helpful in the couple of days or in these 3 weeks where we learn these things. Actually, not us, it takes years and years, but we have just seen in short about the systems and about some of the techniques related with the yoga anatomy and the physiology. Is this clear? Thank you so much. Anything? I think we have seen a lot. If you will check your notebook, you will see a lot of things written down. Hopefully, if you have written, but I will tell to keep these notes with you whenever you will study in this future, will help you to remind quickly what we have been studied here. This is not for only this 24 or 28 days in your life, whenever you will. Yes.
Yeah, we have all the notes. I just have to make the notes for circulatory system now.
Yes, yes. It will helpful for you whenever you will study in deep in future, that at least some basic notes will be helpful from us, what we studied. We will end the session now with one Om chant and one prayer. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. Take a long breath and chant Om one time. Om Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you so much and namaste. See you tomorrow and we can give a small presentation tomorrow. Thank you.